The year was 1962, a time of great tension and fear as the world stood on the brink of nuclear war. The United States and the Soviet Union were engaged in a dangerous standoff known as the Cuban Missile Crisis, a confrontation that would test the resolve of both nations and bring the world to the edge of destruction. It all began when American U-2 spy planes flew over Cuba, capturing photographs that revealed the presence of Soviet missiles on the island. These missiles had the capability to reach major cities in the United States with devastating accuracy. The discovery sent shockwaves through the American government and sparked a series of high-level meetings to decide the course of action. President John F. Kennedy, a charismatic leader known for his calm demeanor, gathered his advisors to discuss the situation. The tension in the room was palpable as they debated the best response. Some advocated for a full-scale military invasion of Cuba to eliminate the threat, while others argued for a diplomatic solution to avoid an all-out war. Kennedy, aware of the gravity of the situation, weighed his options carefully. He knew that a military strike on Cuba could provoke a retaliatory attack from the Soviet Union, potentially leading to a nuclear exchange. The consequences were unthinkable, as the world would be plunged into a cataclysmic conflict that could wipe out entire civilizations. In a bold move, Kennedy decided to pursue a diplomatic solution. He addressed the nation in a televised speech, revealing the presence of the missiles and imposing a naval blockade on Cuba to prevent further shipments of weapons. He called on Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev to remove the missiles and expressed his willingness to negotiate a peaceful resolution. The world held its breath as the standoff continued. Days turned into weeks, and tensions escalated as both sides stood firm in their positions. It seemed as though every passing moment brought the world closer to the edge of a nuclear abyss. Then, in a surprising turn of events, Khrushchev made a concession. He agreed to remove the missiles from Cuba in exchange for a public promise from the United States not to invade the island and a secret agreement to remove American missiles from Turkey. It was a diplomatic victory for Kennedy, who had managed to defuse the crisis and avert a nuclear war. The Cuban Missile Crisis was a wake-up call for the world. It was a stark reminder of the destructive power of nuclear weapons and the fragility of global stability. The crisis led to a renewed effort to control the spread of nuclear weapons and established a direct hotline between Washington and Moscow to improve communication and reduce the risk of miscommunication. In the aftermath of the crisis, Kennedy delivered a powerful speech at American University, advocating for peace and calling for an end to the arms race. He recognized the need for a new approach to international relations, one that prioritized diplomacy over conflict. The Cuban Missile Crisis was a pivotal moment in history, a time when the world held its breath and teetered on the brink of annihilation. It serves as a testament to the power of diplomacy and the importance of leaders who are willing to make bold decisions in the face of overwhelming adversity. As we reflect on this harrowing chapter in human history, let us remember the lessons it taught us. Let us strive for peaceful resolutions to conflicts and work together to build a world where the threat of nuclear war is nothing more than a distant memory. The Cuban Missile Crisis may have been averted, but the need for vigilance and diplomacy remains as important as ever. In the aftermath of the Cuban Missile Crisis, the world breathed a collective sigh of relief. The threat of nuclear war had been averted, but the scars left by the crisis were deep. The incident served as a wake-up call, prompting nations to reevaluate their approach to international relations and nuclear proliferation. For the United States, the Cuban Missile Crisis was a turning point. It highlighted the need for improved intelligence and surveillance capabilities to detect and prevent similar threats in the future. As a result, significant investments were made in advanced reconnaissance technology, such as spy satellites and aerial surveillance systems, to enhance the country's ability to monitor potential adversaries. Internationally, the crisis led to renewed efforts to address the issue of nuclear weapons. The United Nations took a more active role in advocating for disarmament and non-proliferation treaties. The Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, NPT, was negotiated in the following years and came into effect in 1970. The NPT aimed to prevent the spread of nuclear weapons and promote disarmament among participating nations. The Cuban Missile Crisis also had a profound impact on the Soviet Union. While Khrushchev managed to avoid a direct military confrontation with the United States, his handling of the crisis was met with criticism from within his own government and the Soviet military. The crisis weakened his political position, ultimately leading to his removal from power in 1964. However, the crisis did serve as a catalyst for improved communication and dialogue between the United States and the Soviet Union. Recognizing the need to avoid a repeat of the tense standoff, both nations established a direct hotline between the White House and the Kremlin. This direct communication channel allowed for more efficient and timely exchanges during moments of crisis, reducing the risk of miscommunication and miscalculation. The Cuban Missile Crisis left an indelible mark on the global consciousness. It heightened public awareness of the dangers posed by nuclear weapons and fostered a sense of urgency in pursuing disarmament and arms control agreements. The crisis served as a stark reminder that the fate of the world could be decided in a matter of minutes, and that leaders must exercise restraint, wisdom, and diplomacy to navigate through such perilous times. Decades after the Cuban Missile Crisis, its legacy still resonates. It continues to shape international relations, nuclear policies, and arms control discussions. The crisis demonstrated that even in the face of the most dangerous and seemingly insurmountable challenges, diplomacy and dialogue can prevail over the destructive forces of war. As we look back on the Cuban Missile Crisis, we are reminded of the immense courage and leadership displayed by President Kennedy and the resolve of the American people. It was a pivotal moment in history when the world stood on the edge of catastrophe, only to be pulled back by the collective efforts of individuals who prioritized peace over conflict. The Cuban Missile Crisis serves as a constant reminder that the pursuit of peace is an ongoing endeavor. It requires constant vigilance, diplomacy, and a commitment to finding common ground. The crisis demonstrated the catastrophic consequences of unchecked nuclear escalation, leaving an enduring message that the survival of humanity rests on our ability to resolve conflicts through peaceful means.